Yeah, but I guess the whole issue, we all knew about his business and all of that, what he disclosed, what he didn't disclose, tax returns, he didn't disclose them. He had that explanation that he was under audit, he wasn't going to release them. But there's so many people who are asking, why doesn't it concern the chairman? I assume it does concern you. You're the chairman of this oversight committee that's looking at the executive branch of the U.S. government, that the president of the United States potentially could be in violation of the United States Constitution.
I just don't see it like that, Wolf. I just don't. I've looked at this. I've had people pepper me with information.
Do you want to have hearings? Should you have hearings on it?
No, look, I never did this type of investigation on Barack Obama. I never did this on Hillary Clinton. And unless there's some real cause to do it, I don't intend to do it on Donald Trump. There is nothing to suggest that he is profiteering in an unordinary way from the fact that he's the president of the United States. He does have vast interests in a variety of things. And you go look at him on the financial disclosures. But if there was something that rose to the surface that was extraordinary, of course we would look at it.
But I just want to point out,
Congressman,
Barack Obama, he didn't have any businesses. I don't think he had any businesses at all when he was elected president of the United States.
How did he walk out such a rich person?
He wrote books. He made a lot of money writing books. That's how he left.
Like I said,
he made all that money. But he didn't have 500 businesses like President Trump has.
Well, I didn't look at it into the Clintons either, and some people suggested that I probably should have. We're going to look at government expenditures, how they're administering the government, how taxpayer dollars are being used, how the administration is running things. That's what the Oversight and Government Reform Committee is set up to do. And until something rises to the surface that's extraordinary, I'm just not going to go on this fishing expedition.
I just want to be precise.
The possibility that something might have been going on.
Mr. Chairman, you want his tax returns to be released. You could subpoena those tax returns if you wanted to.
I could. The reality is, though, he's not required to do it by law, and so I don't think that's appropriate. I have said publicly on this show and on CNN, even before the election, and I say it here and again, I think if you're going to run for president, you should do a financial disclosure. I've suggested that there should also be a medical disclosure. I'm working on a bill that I hope I can do in a bipartisan way, that a candidate for president and vice president would have to go through a medical examination. So you get to have that information. I wish he had done the tax returns. It is tradition, but that doesn't mean that I should overuse the power that's vested in the Constitution that I have in order to do something that's not required by law. Imagine if the executive branch did that to me,
Congressman,
to the legislative branch.
Why would that be
inappropriate?
Why would that be an overuse of power to subpoena his tax returns just to make sure that everything was fine?
You know what? If the executive branch and the FBI did that to me, I think we did it to all the members of Congress, they would be yelling and screaming, and rightfully so. You just don't go on fishing expeditions on doing this. You know, I did investigations, so-called Hillary Clinton investigations, because there were 4 people that were killed in Benghazi, because the Inspector General found that there was classified information in a non-classified setting. It was only upon that information that we started these investigations. I didn't start an investigation of Hillary Clinton before she took office, and I certainly did not do it of the Clinton family and their finances. That would have been wholly inappropriate. And I think the same is true with Donald Trump and whoever's in the office, no matter what political hat they're wearing.
Mr. Chairman, I ask these questions because you yourself have said on CNN that if you're going to run and try to become the president of the United States, in your words, and I'll quote you, you're going to have to open up your kimono and show everything, your tax returns, your medical records. You are just going to have to do that. That's a quote from you.
Yeah, sorry for the bad visual for everybody that's watching on that, but I do believe that would have been a very important piece of information for the American public. The American public had to weigh that, but we're not just going to go to the standards of whoever's the chairman of the Oversight Committee. Let's look to the law, and if you want to do that, you need to change the law. That's why I'm looking at introducing a piece of legislation on the medical disclosure, which I do think would be, if you're going to have your hands on the nuclear codes, I think you should have a physical checkup that everybody can kind of look at Now, that's my opinion, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go subpoena somebody's medical records just because I want to see it. You got to go through a process here and respect that process.
Because you say now financial disclosure, you want all of that, but during the campaign you said you want to see his tax returns.
I think it's more appropriate. I think that is the right way to do it, but that's my own personal opinion. It's not the law. And so if somebody has not violated the law and there's no evidence that they're violating the law, do you really think that it's appropriate for me to just go on a fishing expedition and look at tax returns? Or, yeah, I mean, there's very strict rules on that. The 6103 information is very highly held. There are only certain people on the Ways and Means Committee that can actually look at tax returns. So to me, to just unilaterally go and take them and put them out there, I think is an abuse of power. And if the executive branch did that on the legislative branch, or imagine if the executive branch did that on the judicial branch, it'd be inappropriate. Any way in this triangulation of the three branches of government, it would be inappropriate unless we pass a law. And maybe people are making the case that it should be the law. I happen to think it would have been good practice. It would have been better informed the public, but he chose not to do that, and they still elected him the president.
Well, what about issuing a subpoena to get the tax returns, but you don't necessarily, if the committee decides not to, you don't have to release them publicly, but you can review them confidentially. Are you open to that?
No.
Because?
I mean, I just explained it. I really don't believe that it's appropriate for one branch of government to go digging into somebody else's tax returns unless there's some sort of cause that leads you to believe that there is something that has gone on that is illegal and that is a misuse of taxpayer funds. It's a misuse of, that's not what we're set up to do. There is an IRS that is set up to do this. Nobody has suggested that there's anything wrong or inappropriate. They certainly can't point to anything in Donald Trump's tax returns. It's a fishing expedition. It's curiosity. It's Democrats with their heads exploding, wanting to see this because they can't believe that Donald Trump is actually the President of the United States. I know where their motivation is, and it's not, it's ill-placed, and it's an abuse of power if I were to do that.
All right, I think we're going to leave it on that note, but I just want to point out, Mr. Chairman, that your committee is designed to be a sort of a check and a balance on the executive branch, the oversight committee. That's what it's called. You have to look potentially at a whole bunch of issues that are sometimes awkward. I'll give you the last word.
That's very true, and we have a very full plate of a lot of things we're looking into. And look, my job is not to be a cheerleader for the president. We are tip of the spear on checks and balances. And when something goes awry and when something is inappropriate, we'll go dive into it. We really will.
You're always generous with your time, Mr. Chairman. Thanks very much.